It's the anti-checker.
We will return to your scheduled programming shortly, or we are currently experiencing technical difficulties.
What is going on, YouTube? Michael J. Crawford, the anti-checker here. Although it looks like at the moment, at least, I am alone. Very strange. So I don't know if there's a problem with notifications or something like that, because it shows I've been broadcasting for 1 minute and 16 seconds and nobody is in fact watching. That seems a little strange. So if you are lurking right now, please throw something into the chat just so that I can see that the stream is in fact going out there to the general public. Because, oh, it looks like it says one person is watching now, so maybe it's working. So we'll see who that one person, will it be Thomas Potts, I wonder. And although I know Thomas is playing Space Engineers right now, so who knows if he noticed or not. And this is going to be the world's most boring live stream, since I'm not going to know what to talk about, since nobody's here, apparently. Let me go into Space Engineers, see if they can, let's see. Sorry about the noise, if anybody can hear this. So let's see what happens as I continue to wait now to see if anybody saw that. This is really, really bizarre. And yeah, Thomas in Space Engineers says he did not get a notification for the live stream, so that's... this is going to be one of those days. Still says one watching. I wonder if that's just me watching from my YouTube studio. Because right now it's still nothing in the chat. We'll see if anybody gets it soon. Still nothing. And Thomas says, don't even see it on your channel. Bizarre. Let me see. Let's go to live stream settings. It says unlisted. What the heck? Alright. Bizarre. Okay, that is weird. Why would YouTube change it to unlisted? So I've not done an unlisted live stream in way too long. See if that does anything. This is going to be the world's most boring live stream, that is for sure. There's Thomas. Hey, Thomas. Trying to figure everything out. So, and Kronos is here. Okay, we're starting to get people. Kronos, did you get a notification, or how did you find the live stream? And Azine is here as well. Did either of you guys get notifications? I need to know, because having some weird technical issues with YouTube right now. Hopefully, let's see, and Kronos claims second and third. Okay. But did you get a notification, Kronos? You gotta tell me. I need to know this. Chris M. Collecting is in the house, says hello. I know you came over from Space Engineers, but did you get a notification yet? Mike Richards is here from Columbus, Ohio. Again, did you get a notification? Somebody tell me. Kronos didn't get a notification. Okay. How about you, Mike Richards, or anybody else? And Azine's on Space Engineers as well. Okay. What about you, Mike Richards? Did you get anything? Or is this just going to be, let's see. And Ozzy says, hi, everyone. I see Joker is getting rave reviews. That, I haven't seen that yet, but I'll tell you, as far as, when it comes to reviews nowadays, I don't give a crap, because rave reviews just means that the critic, it falls in line with whatever the critics are supposed to like. Critics, and this is really sad, there is no integrity in film criticism anymore. Mike Richards, no notification, was looking around. This is really going to piss me off. So nobody got a notification today, which means that probably that just bugs me sometimes where YouTube works. Anyway, but as far as the Joker, Ozzy, these days, I mean, if you look at the way the critics work, critics no longer, with very few exceptions, they no longer rate a film based on the relative quality of the film or the caliber of the storytelling. They base it on the political message, whether or not it is in line with the current zeitgeist from Hollywood and all that. And that's really, really annoying, because when I saw Dave Chappelle get that 0% in Rotten Tomatoes. Now, am I shocked that Dave Chappelle got 0%? No. Well, maybe a little, because I would expect at least a couple of critics to feel the guilty white shame in giving the black guy a positive rating. But and I'm sorry, with critics, that's, BIRDOPREY says, I told you to put it to public, should have listened. But here's the thing, Bert, I never put it on unlisted. That's the thing. I did not change the setting to unlisted. So I don't know what the heck happened and why this live stream started out as unlisted, and I had to manually put it on public. And when did you tell me that, Bird? Oh, because, yeah. Anyway, Wesley says, how are you today? I am a little stressed, to be honest with you. I've been fighting with the insurance people, but, I mean, the thing is, so the surgery on my knee is going to be on October 3rd, but my leave time runs out on September 11th, which means that I'm going to have to go back to work for almost a month before the surgery. So that's going to be very, very difficult for me, to be honest with you. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's what I got to deal with. Sorry about that noise. I just realized that was from Space Engineers. And so Ozzy says, I agree, taste critics are crap. There are a couple of YouTubers with reviews out. Okay, well, and YouTubers, it depends. And thank you, Thomas, for the $1.99 in the chat. Thank you, I do appreciate it. Anyway, so, but yeah, as far as general consensus from critics, it means nothing these days. You get movies that are absolutely wonderful that get crap ratings. You get movies that are absolute crap that get great ratings. And it's all based on politics. And I'm freaking done. And Bird said at 10:15, you messaged me. All right, let me take a look, because I didn't see that, obviously. But it still seems rather, why would my stream be unlisted? And let's see. Yeah, and you said when you go live, don't forget to set your stream back to public. What are you talking about? I never had it. Bird, what am I missing here? Because how did you know that it was set to unlisted, but I did not? Because I did not do an unlisted live stream. I'm completely confused. So I really. Bird, you confuse me even more, because how did you know it was unlisted? I genuinely don't understand that. Wesley asks, how are you today? Like I said, I'm a little stressed because of the time frame and everything. Oh, and let me put on number 16 for Thomas. I'm a little frazzled right now, sorry.
Heart attack!
Well, that was easier than I expected. This is going to be a great day. And now, off to my first day of work on indoor.
Yes. Wesley says, I hear rumor that I assume it's Karoga, not Cargo, is building walls around the NPC trading hubs near Karoga so no one else can trade with them. Well, that would make sense for Karoga to do underhanded tactics like that. just to say, to try and prevent other people from being successful. But yeah. And so, and let's see. Critics mean nothing to me, says Kronos. Bird says, obviously you were hacked. I've said too much. No, Bird, seriously. I need to know what, and if you can't tell me in the public chat, tell me on Skype, because I need to know how you knew that. I seriously need to know that, because I'm genuinely confused.
I got it!
And Yosef, thanks so much, says, praise Bird, and remember why, and of course. Praise Bird, remember why, and of course. Yosef, you completely confused me, but number 23 it is, the greatest of all. There we go. And Bird says, thank you, Yosef, I do appreciate it. And Bird says, in all seriousness, I went to youtube.com/Trigger Live and noticed that I went to your YouTube page instead of the video, so I assumed you made a private video and forgot to put it back. Well, that's the thing, though, is that I haven't. And that's why I'm so confused, because last night, after I did the live stream, I basically, after that, I went to bed, got up, been on the phone for a little while with the insurance people, and did this live stream. There is nothing else that took place. So I am completely at a loss as to how it went to unlisted mode like that. It's kind of weird. And Ozzy says, Anti Kuroga has spies everywhere. Don't check Auntie's color. Actually, Sassy is a Turtistani spy. And Peter is in the house, says, evening, Anti-Checker and all. Spit it! Yes, how you doing, Peter? I am in a massive confusion. Now, here's the thing about Joker as well. So, a lot of critics might be loving Joker, and I have, like I said, I haven't followed up on that, Ozzy, at all. But I said, and like I said as much on Midnight's Edge twice now, and I maintain that Joker looks like a wonderfully done film. It looks like a very well-made film. It's probably well acted, probably well written. But it does not look in any way, shape, or form like the freaking Joker. It looks like a, this is not a comic book movie, so to speak. Now, that can be good or bad. That's fine. I'm not saying that it's a bad movie because it's not a comic book movie. However, I don't care about seeing a, it's like, I don't want to see Star Trek that's not Star Trek. That's why I don't like Star Trek Discovery. I don't want to see comic book movies that aren't comic book movies, and that's why I don't particularly care about this Joker rendition. And by the way, one of the reasons that I think that the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy is substantially overrated. And in fact, one of the reasons that I think that the third one was actually the best of them, even though I know a lot of people hate Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, I actually liked it because it actually felt almost like a comic book movie. And I think Heath Ledger's Joker was severely overrated. I think he was great, not knocking Heath Ledger at all, but that was not the frickin' Joker. Let's see. Any thoughts on the rumors that episode 9 will involve time travel? Well, I know that there's a lot of speculation and rumor about how they're going to try to salvage episode 9. I don't buy the time travel aspect, honestly. I think it just doesn't fit for Star Wars. But then again, we're talking J.J. Abrams, and the way he attempted to salvage Star Trek was through time travel, so why not try to salvage Star Wars through time travel? That being said, if that is what they do, I think it'll be a cheap out, to be honest. How's the wife, and where do you get those t-shirts? Well, most of my t-shirts I actually get from Walmart. And the wife is feeling much, much better. Thank you for asking. But yes, Ozzy, she is doing a whole lot better. She actually got a little bit of sleep last night, or the couple of nights before. She was coughing so much she couldn't sleep. Yosef says, because I super chatted Bird praising your Galaxy Quest review and you were not amused, and I promised money on your morning streams since they are my late afternoon streams. What is your current time? 6 p.m. here. Well, Yosef, here it is 11 a.m. So it looks like you're about 7 hours later than me. Peter says, I thought Joker trailer was meh, and trigger, I'll wait until it's on home video. Yeah, I'm not real excited about the Joker movie, honestly. Even if everybody says, oh, it's the greatest movie ever made, it just, you know, here's the big problem is, the big problem with Warner Brothers is that they don't understand comic book characters at all, right? So Warner Brothers really is clueless as to how to handle this franchise, and it's such a shame because, you know, the DC character roster are some of the most iconic characters in all of fiction, let alone just comic books. You know, they have Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, all these awesome characters that they should be making billion-dollar movies with, and yet they fail time after time after time to hit the mark. The closest they came, honestly, was Shazam. They did a good job, and Aquaman, they did a good job. Wonder Woman was all right, but Wonder Woman felt a little derivative of Captain America, to be frank. And so they tried, like, and the thing is that the moments of, you know, people say, but wait a minute, Andy Trekker, what about the 1979 Superman? What about the 1989 Batman? You know, those movies were freaking awesome, right? And yes, but you know what they did? And those movies, like Richard Donner made the Superman and the original cut of Superman 2 that was later trashed by Warner Brothers. And Richard Donner understood the character. Warner Brothers did not, and that's why we ended up with Superman 3 and Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Hello, world.
And Mercer throws a couple of bucks in. I'll get to your chat just a second. Let me finish this whole thing here. So Superman 1 is really the only theatrical release that was under Donner's total control. Superman 2 was completely redone because of the studio. And if you see the Donner cut, it is 100 times better than what we got in theaters. And by the way, if you have not seen Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, you owe it to yourself to find it and watch it. But at any rate, and then if you look at the Batman films, well, the first two Batman films were Tim Burton's vision, and then the studio was like, oh, well, here's what we're going to do now, and Tim Burton's like, I'm out. And that's why we got the crap Joel Schumacher. That's what the studio wanted, is what Joel Schumacher produced. And so Warner Brothers does not understand these characters at all, and they keep hiring different directors and then throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what works, right? And if they hire a director that happens to be really good, like Tim Burton or Richard Donner, they get some good movies. And yes, even the Christopher Nolan Batman films are good movies, but there is zero consistency throughout DC and film, right? Marvel, at least, has always attempted to make things consistent, and they hit and miss until the MCU, where they knocked it out of the park. But the problem with Marvel is, of course, they sold off a lot of their characters to other studios so that Sony could make Spider-Man films and Fox could make X-Men films and all that crap. But yeah. Wesley says, Andrew, when you have to go back to work, can you work from home? Yes, I will be working from home, and so that's good. It's not the physical part of, I mean, honestly, my work is not physical at all. I'm on the phone and on a computer all day. That's my job. It's the problem is that with the pain that I have in my back and my knee, but particularly the back is the more severe pain, but that pain that I'm experiencing makes it very difficult for me to have a sustained conversation, and especially if I'm talking to someone that is not feeling or not friendly, put it that way. And that's a large part of my job is actually is talking to people that are hostile. And the problem is that with the way that I am, the way that I can be very snappy and little things can set me off, then it makes it extraordinarily difficult to do my job. And when I truly hope, and this is my biggest fear, is that I go back to work in about a week now, just over a week, and when I go back to work, I end up losing my job because of say something that I will regret, and that's a genuine problem. I don't know what to do. So now to Mercer's $2 super chat. Thank you, Mercer. I do appreciate it. It says, can Rise of Skywalker save Star Wars? That's a really loaded question. Can it save Star Wars? Absolutely. The real question is, will it save Star Wars? Because we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know what J.J. Abrams has in his hat, so to speak. The only thing we know is that it's going to be difficult, you know. And I would dare say, though, looking at the trailers, do I think that the Star Wars is going to be saved by Rise of Skywalker? Probably not. But yeah, but I don't know. Peter said, Aquaman showed promise, Wonder Woman was good, Shazam was great, but the others more recently entering DC TV does pick up. Well, here's the thing. The Warner Brothers DC TV stuff, the live action stuff, the Arrowverse as people call it, you know, with Arrow and Flash and Supergirl and all that crap, I don't like it. I really do. I liked it at first. I thought that the first couple of seasons of Arrow were good. I thought the first couple of seasons of The Flash were good. But the problem is, I didn't care for Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow was meh. But the thing is that, okay, they had some good ideas, but now it's such, I mean, it's just like any other show. The only difference is it's like those CBS procedural crime dramas, right? That they say, ooh, look, we're calling it Hawaii Five-0, but it's really the same as CIS, just with a different skin on it. Right? Ooh, we're going to call it MacGyver, but it's really just CIS with another skin on it, right? Everything is the same show where you have your hero character and his crew find out about a problem. They meet together at their headquarters and use their computers to figure out the problem, then go out and fix the problem. End of the episode. It's the same thing every single episode, and it's boring. Well, guess what? The CW, if you look at Arrow and you look at Flash, it's the same thing. The only difference is that the main character has some extraordinary ability. That's it. And it's really, really boring. And so I got tired of it. And so that's why I don't watch Arrow or Flash in the last couple of years. Because they've, quite frankly, they've just become wash, rinse, repeat procedural crime drama. And you know what? If that's what makes the network's money, I understand, but not for me. Peter says, I watched Teen Titans Go to the movies today, Andy Trekker. They had Star Industries, but Flash nowhere to be seen. Robert Downey Jr. voiced Superman. Actually, it was Nicolas Cage that voiced Superman in Teen Titans Go to the movies. And I love Teen Titans Go to the movies. That was a fun movie. A silly parody of what they really are, but it was fun. Ozzy sings, I think Batman Returns is better than most people give it credit for. I do too. Batman Returns is not bad. I think Batman Returns, Danny DeVito's Penguin was a bit disgusting, to be frank, but overall, I liked the movie. Joseph says, growing up in a communist country without comics, I can relate only to the movies, and I really do not care for the comics now. So I have a more agnostic approach to the movies than you do. So Joker, yay! Well, and that's fine, Joseph, but the problem is that would you say that when you look at the trailers for Joker, does that fit into the same universe as Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, the Shazam, Aquaman? Does this movie in any way, shape, or form look like it fits into that universe? Because, quite frankly, I don't buy it. Wesley says, The Force Awakens was horrible. That's where all the Star Wars problems started. I have no hope for Rise of Skywalker. I don't think The Force Awakens was horrible. I think that it was not great. In fact, the first half of Force Awakens led up to what could have been a great movie. Once they got off Jakku, though, and Rey started having every ability on the planet, or in the universe, or in the galaxy, or whatever, then it really went downhill. And the fact that Rey won that final fight at the end of the film was an insult, and that's where things really fell apart. Call center workers always deal with hostility, Anti-Trigger. No change there for the UK. Yeah, I feel bad for my call center brethren, I'll tell you. I don't work in a call center, but I understand, and I did at one point not too long ago, so yes, that's true. But think about that level of hostility that you get sometimes from customers on the phone. I have to deal with something similar to that. And it's not going to be, it's going to be very difficult. BIRDOPREY says it's very hard to provide support for Pornhub. Okay, well, good luck. Wesley says, do not call your customers jerks or cheaters, you jerk cheater. I understand. I wouldn't, but the problem is that if somebody comes at you with a hostile attitude, when you're in pain, it's very difficult to not lash back at them, and that's going to be very, very difficult for me. JJ has poop in his hat. That could be. Daffy, no. They have to call now. They can't watch a Warner Brothers movie without Warner Brothers ball cap. Okay. Peter says, can't wait for Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's going to be awesome. We'll see. I may actually watch it because of the talk of like Tom Welling coming back and stuff like that, but honestly, I'm not expecting much. A movie is made of your life. Who plays you? Who plays Bird? Who plays Lord? And who plays Mrs. Anti-Trekker? I have no freaking idea. Now, first of all, Bird is easy. I would cast Mike Chiklis as BIRDOPREY. For lore, I would cast the guy that played the Packlid for... No, the guy that played the Rancor Keeper from Return of the Jedi. I'll have him play lore. For Mrs. Anti-Trekker, that's a tough one. But I would say... Man, oh man, I don't know. I can't think of anybody that fits her both physically and could do the way that her attitude is about things. So I don't know. And that's a real tough one for me. But I'm going to go with, oh gosh, now I'm forgetting her name. Oh, man. I'm going to go with Angela Bassett. Granted, I'd need a time machine, make her a little bit younger, but I'm going to say Angela Bassett as Mrs. Anti-Trekker. And for me, Tom Hanks. Why not? All right, so just to find someone. So there you go. Joseph says, sitting 8 hours and even the best chair is hard. I've only herniated discs and the pain can be horrible. So I totally, yeah, that's the thing is that, yeah, sitting 8 hours and this is a good solid chair, although I got to tighten up this armrest, but it's a good solid chair. But yeah, 8 hours in any chair and dealing with hostile people is not, I'm not looking forward to it. No metas in Arrow, Anti-Trekker, or Flash has to get involved. Well, but the thing is, Arrow in a way is a meta. He's just not, in that, I mean, his ridiculous ability as an archer. And Peter says, Nick Cage, Superman, yes. Yes, Teen Titans was totally fun, Anti-Trekker. I was playing Spot the theme tune, yes. He is really working for that company. Can he give us coupon... If he is really working for that company, can he give us coupons or discounts? No, and I don't work for that company. Aaron says, Anti-Trekker, hello. I don't think Joker fits into the universe, and I don't think and I do not think it should. Batman v Superman is supernatural. This Joker is supposedly grounded. I'm up for a Joaquin show. Well, I'm not. And that's fine. If you are and you enjoy it, that's awesome. And I'm probably going to think the movie itself is great, but I'm also going to not like the fact that it doesn't fit into the universe. Because if you have a grounded, realistic Joker, then that doesn't work in a universe with Superman and Green Lantern and Batman and all that. But yeah. Ozzy says, I think you need a bigger coffee cup. Yeah, it's only about that big. Actually, people like to say how small I am. It's not that that's actually a average size coffee cup, right? So let me do someone real quick. 10 ounce. There we go. All right. And let's see. The Daffy quote. Oh, actually, I'm getting ahead. The new DC president said they are not doing a single universe movies anymore, only director's vision. So no, it's not the same universe, and it seems like on purpose. Yes, and I think that is a horrible mistake. And the problem is, here's the thing with with Warner Brothers, right? Is that they're sitting there going, let's replicate what Marvel did. Let's give it all to Zack Snyder. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Zack Snyder is a talented visual director. And I actually thought he did a good job with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I think a lot of people that throw hate at those movies, honestly, are off their kilter. Because I think that Man of Steel was actually a really good film. Now, people would say, but Superman's not supposed to be dark. He wasn't. He was in a dark world, but Superman himself was an optimistic character. And so I think that there was room for that character to grow into the DCU. And same with Batman v Superman. But then, because they got hypersensitive to the criticisms about it, and so they put all this crap on Justice League and said, okay, we're going to tone it down, we're going to rein it in, we're going to do all this stuff to Justice League. And then they pushed the release date so they could get their freaking bonuses and ruined a franchise for that, right? So they're basically killing a franchise. So now they're going to say, oh, we're going to do all these independent different movies about these independent different characters, and they're not interconnected in any way, shape, or form. Fine. But you know what that means? That means people aren't going to give a crap. You know why Marvel is making billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar movie? Because they paid their dues by making little movies like Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk and Thor and Captain America before they did the Avengers. And then they continued with this vision of an interconnected universe so that now, even when there's a character you don't care about all that much, you want to see it so you can understand the ramifications on the universe as a whole. So right now, if let's say that DC came out with the Spectre, right? Some character that most people have never heard of, or the Phantom Stranger. And if you don't know who the Phantom Stranger is, he would be really cool to see on film. And so they do a movie about one of these lesser known characters, or even characters that just aren't that exciting on the surface, like Swamp Thing and all these other characters that they have. Well, since there's no interconnected universe, people are going to look and say, Swamp Thing, not interested. And there's no reason to go see it. However, I will say this. A lot of people went to see Captain Marvel simply because it was a Marvel film. And Captain Marvel made $1 billion. A lot of people went, they went to see Doctor Strange because it was a Marvel film and it made like over $700 million. Marvel doesn't make flop movies because everybody wants to see where the Marvel universe is going. Unfortunately, from the way that Marvel's describing, that's all about to fall apart. But to simply say, give it to the director, that's, the reason they're doing that is because they don't know what the hell they're doing. You need there is a reason for the studio system. You need a boss over it. You need a Kevin Feige running the universe. You don't just hand a potentially billion-dollar movie to a director and say, hey, here's a couple $100 million. Good luck. Oh, well, it doesn't fit we don't care. Just make whatever you want to make. I'm sure the fans will get over it. No, that's a huge mistake. Patton Oswalt could play Lore. He could, but Patton's Lore is actually taller than he looks. Peter says, Whoopi as Mrs. Antricker? Hell no. Does TNN stand for Turd News Network? Yes. Prob's an old bit. Prob's a bit old, I mean. Okay. Oh, when you're paying, you get hostility while working. It's very, yes. Let's see. Darren says, oh, great. Antchecker's on now. I have to stop working on my own video and watch him. Sorry, buddy. Bugs, ties. Artist ties him up on rope. Bugs, that's neckties. See, I don't remember that one. And I know you said it was from the Batman 1989. I don't remember that. You should record yourself saying the most common things you say to customers in a really nice tone and set up hotkeys. Yes. I'm sorry, but I just can't do that. I'll tell you where you can stick your title. Wow, that's mean. Don't forget, people, smash the like button, share via social, set chat to live. Don't forget to turn mic and camera on before streaming, and donate if you can. Down with Turdistan. Thank you, rock solid. Mr. Captain is in the house, says, we all know you sell houses, just admit it. I wish I did, because I would probably have an easier time with that than the kind of work I do. First time I never got a notification for your stream. What I missed? Not a whole lot, Darth Maul. I don't think anybody got a notification today. YouTube hates me. Normie coffee cups look huge in the hands of hobbits like Anti-Tricker. There it is. Wesley says, for Christmas, you can dress up as a bike Santa. Never mind. That sounds too weird. Peter says, I quite enjoyed Batman v Superman Anti-Tricker. Good story. I actually liked it. I think that the Doomsday thing should have been left out. I think they should have saved Doomsday for a later thing. But I actually overall liked the film. What are the lyrics to the Kuroga National Anthem? I think it goes something like, all hope is gone, despair is our way, you will march with us, unless, of course, you're gay. Something like that. Darren says, I credit Zack Snyder for finally giving us a Superman who balled up and his fist and punched people. I, however, did not agree with the color palette choices. Yeah, I think the color was a little washed out for Man of Steel, but I overall really liked that movie. Sucker Punch and Watchmen, could not watch it. Both Snyder movies, his style does not work for me. And that's fair. Joseph, if you say, well, you just don't like his style, I can get behind that. What I don't like is when people just say, oh, he just sucks. Well, no, it just doesn't work for you. Rock Solid says, I actually didn't hate Suicide Squad. I did not care for Suicide Squad. I thought it was kind of a hot mess. But there were moments in it that I liked. I actually thought that Jared Leto's Joker was a little better than people give him credit for. I didn't like the grills and the tattoos, but I think Jared Leto actually did a decent job. Sucker Punch was so terrible. I actually enjoyed Sucker Punch. As for the writing on Zack's Superman films, I didn't like the message of zero-sum game when it comes to doing good deeds. Well, I could see that, but yeah. And Bird of Prey says, Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark have been added to the Certified Nerds list. Thank you, Bird. I was going to ask you about that. The Daffy quotes for the cartoon in front of the 89 VHS. Yes, you said that a minute ago, and I acknowledged it already, but I don't remember it, even though I had the Batman 89 VHS. I don't remember that. Batman vs. Superman was like Spider-Man 3. Too much stuff and it collapsed under its own weight. I think that collapsed is a little bit strong of a word. I do think, though, that Batman v Superman did suffer from having too much. It should have just been Batman, Superman, and Lex. And I think that the way that they should have done it is have Batman and Superman figure out that they were being manipulated, but not figure out by whom. So that Lex would basically get away. Live with Matthew says, the heck? No notifications? Yeah, apparently the notifications did not work for this live stream because YouTube changed my live stream settings to unlisted, and I didn't catch it until after I started the live stream. And if you make a live stream public after it starts, notifications don't go out. So thanks, YouTube. Why turn mic to camera on? Because if the mic was or the camera were off, you wouldn't be able to see or hear me, I guess. Because Antrigger and Bird-of-Prey both forget to turn on the... Oh, you're saying, why does Rock Solid say that? Yes, because Bird-of-Prey 5 and Antrigger both forget to turn the... so, jerk. Joseph says, yes, yes, yes. Doomsday should have been left out. Finally, someone agrees with me. So happy right now. Yeah, well, that's the thing. The Doomsday thing, first of all, they should have done Doomsday the way it was originally done in the comics. I think, think about this. If Batman v Superman, you have Lex, and by the way, I know that a lot of people were going off on Lex in that. I think that at the end with the shaved head, he actually looked and felt a little more like Lex. So first of all, do the shaved head through the whole thing. You have Lex manipulating the scenes. Batman and Superman both clueless as to what's going on. They end up fighting, and then they figure out that somehow that someone's been manipulating them. And when Superman basically gets to Batman that Martha's being held, they work together to rescue her, blah, blah, blah. End of story. Well, now they got to figure out who is behind all this. So that, I think, would be a good way to do Batman v Superman. Now, then you do Wonder Woman pretty much as it was. There's not really, I mean, even though I make fun of Wonder Woman being derivative of Captain America, you do that movie pretty much as it stood. Then when you do Justice League, first of all, you totally revamp Justice League because it was a mess. But you go back with the Snyder vision of Justice League, whatever the hell it was. And at the end, you have your teaser where you see a wall and a fist slamming into that wall over and over and over, which, by the way, is in the comic books how Doomsday first appeared. Then in a sequel to Man of Steel, you have Doomsday get out and basically start rampaging across the country and completely and utterly defeating Superman. And then you do a Justice League 2 where the Justice League gets together to face off with Doomsday, and in Doomsday wins. Then you do a part 2 to that movie, or you just call Death of Superman, where Doomsday actually kills Superman as it happened in the comic books. That would have been a better game plan and probably would be making lots and lots of money. Let's see. Darren says the best parts of Batman v Superman were surprising for me. The Ben Affleck scenes. I really did. I did also really like the moment when Bruce discovers the picture of World War II Wonder Woman with Pine. I actually liked Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck is the best Batman we've seen on screen. Unfortunately, was not in the best Batman movie, but he is freaking. I'm so mad about all the fallout with Ben Affleck because I really wanted to see him continue. But, you know, the fans just got all pissy about it, and now he's gone. Cinnabon says, I got the notification. Well, that's cool. Somebody did. I think you're the only one. Maybe Doomsday during Justice League. I could see that. But, you know, the problem is that they, of course, already ruined it. And I just realized that because they're going to do a server boot in just a little bit on the game, so I need to get my stuff safe so that I don't lose anything in the game. So bear with me a second. And just so you know, it doesn't, not that it really matters. I'm in a cryo tube, but let me see. Do I have anything important on me? Yeah, just bottles. So we'll put that in here. Very exciting, I know. Alright, so now my inventory is safe so that when the server, because last time they did a server reboot, even though I was in a cryo tube, for whatever reason, it didn't save my inventory, which really pissed me off. So this time I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. There we go. Alright, so
Hello.
And Yosef throws another $2 in. Thank you so much, my friend. And I will get to that in just a minute here. And Mercer says, Batman vs. Superman is just so oppressive. Like when the black lady gets up and asks how Superman determines who he saves, and he doesn't in front of Congress. A morose feeling of guilt pervades me while watching it. Why? Well, first of all, I think that they raise some interesting questions, because with Superman, one of the biggest problems with Superman is what do you do if you are invincible and can do almost anything, but you can't save everyone? How do you decide who you save? I think that's an interesting an interesting idea. But, and also the fact that Superman didn't spot the bomb in Congress, well, he wasn't looking for it. And so, you know, that's, and I know that, I think in the director's cut or whatever, they said that the wheelchair was lined with lead, but it doesn't, but Superman just, you know, he didn't notice it. He wasn't there to look for a bomb. He was there to testify. June is in the house, says it's 2 a.m. down under, can't sleep, know any lullabies? Lullaby, go to bed, shut your big bloodshot eyes, blah, 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 sleep, 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 listen to Bird of Prey. I thought Mark Zuckerberg, Lex Luthor sucked. They should have gone with Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston would have been a better Lex Luthor for sure. Scientific Lens says, hey guys, saw Dark Phoenix. It was worse than expected. I hate how the Beast looks and acts in these movies. Should be more the Hulk and less Teen Wolf. Well, Beast actually should not be more the Hulk. The Beast is supposed to be Beast is one of the smartest people in the MCU, and certainly one of the smartest among the mutant population. But the problem is that I'm sorry, Kelsey Grammer as Beast was inspired casting. I can't remember the name of the guy that they had playing Beast. He's just lame. Zack's Superman annoyed me. Saved the dog, but let the dad die. And a bunch of Oklahomans hiding under a bridge triggered. Well, first of all, they're from Kansas, not Oklahoma. Second of all, and I understand they wouldn't hide under a bridge. That was bad. You know, they didn't do enough research for that sequence. And yeah, I get it that, you know, would you go, you know, like we have two dogs, right? We have Auntie and we have Puka. And if there was a tornado coming towards our car, would I risk my life running back to the car to save them? No, not if Mrs. Antitrekker and Joshua were safe. I would not risk their lives or mine to try and rescue the dogs. As much as I love them, they are not people. And people first, I'm sorry. So I didn't like that particular sequence. However, the spirit behind it, I didn't have, you know, the fact that Jonathan told, you know, Clark to not do it because he didn't want him to reveal himself. Jonathan was kind of paranoid in it. I think that Jonathan was probably the biggest problem I had with the Zack Snyder Man of Steel is Jonathan Kent was the one that was not optimistic enough. I think Clark was fine. Jonathan was not. And then Joseph says, Martha! Yes. Do Lex creating Doomsday during Batman v Superman, then unleash him in another movie? Except I don't want Lex creating Doomsday. I like the original Doomsday idea. Doomsday was a failed Kryptonian experiment that they buried on an alien planet hoping that he would never get dug up. And unfortunately, it didn't work out very well. Let me see. Just want to make sure that wasn't anything important. Okay. Okay, good, nothing. All right, so I feel Diana should have been taken from the boys to get some Greek gyros after the credits of Batman v Superman. That would have been funny. Let's see. Auntie has the right idea, but you don't get paid to sleep. Yes, I would love to get paid to sleep. No, even though the Schumacher movies were pure cheese, Michael Keaton was the best Batman. Well, the Schumacher films didn't have Michael Keaton. Remember, the Schumacher films had Val Kilmer as Batman and then George Clooney as Batman. And they were horrible. Darren says, Antrigger. Warner said they would never do the movies the way you just described. That would make too much damn sense for the show and show way too much concern. Well, you're unfortunately probably right about that. Ben Affleck nailed it as Bruce Wayne, not a bad Batman either. Yeah, in fact, I like the fact that Ben Affleck, honestly, he was the first person to play the part. Even though I love Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck was the first one who really felt like he was as intelligent as Bruce Wayne is supposed to be and as badass as Bruce Wayne is supposed to be. And, you know, as much as I like Michael Keaton nailed the intelligence part, but not the badassery. He's a little too small for that. And honestly, I think that Christian Bale nailed some of the badassery, but not the intelligence. So, yeah, I think that Ben Affleck was actually the best. Yosef with his €2 says, Toby's Aunt May naked, and the best Batman is Adam West. Wow. If Alexander were here, he would probably well, I don't know. He might actually like Toby's Aunt May naked. Because he is kind of weird. Let's see. How long have you been on YouTube? How long have you been on YouTube and setting notifications? I've been going for almost an hour, and I'm not surprised because for some reason YouTube switched my live stream setting to unlisted when I started it. I no idea why that happened. And when you switch a live stream from unlisted to public, it doesn't send out notifications. So a lot of you guys did not get notifications. So my apologies for that. Hey, got my stuff put away and hopped into a pod. Oh, that's good, Nicole. So, making progress. Mr. Miles is here, says, unsubbing first, wrench me. Well, you'll be missed. No, you're not. And no. Who was the director of the first two movies, though? Is it Schumacher? No, it was Tim Burton. Yeah. Tim Burton directed Batman and Batman Returns, and then Joel Schumacher directed Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, which were both horrible. Had to look for Anti-Checker to find the stream. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. YouTube. Mr. Miles says didn't get a notification. Of course not. BIRDOPREY says Superman saves white women first. He's racist and a patriarchy. Wow. Well, then shouldn't he save white men first? Darren says, the real problem in my view with Snyder's Superman films was where they took place in a world where the character just doesn't work well in. Superman needs to be in a fun world. Well, the problem is that how do you put Superman in a fun world if you're going to put him in the same world as Batman? That is a problem. And Mr. Miles, and Life with Matthew, Mr. Miles does have a wrench. It's just not a virtual wrench like what he's asking for. For the record, I've already unsubbed and resubbed and unsubbed again. Jerk. I meant physically. He looks skinny with a blue werewolf mask and fuzzy slippers. I know he's genius level smart. Okay, yeah, I agree. He is too small. But and that's why I like Kelsey Grammer's Beast, who look a little stockier. Snyder's Kents also gave him some of the worst advice I've ever seen in a superhero story. Agree. I think that Jonathan Kent in particular was horribly done. BIRDOPREY retracted a message. Nicole says, it's not his fault. It's YouTube weirdness. Yeah. I didn't mind the theme of the lady was saying, but the way it was filmed was so weighty. Oh, yeah, I get you. I do think that they kind of overdid it a little bit, but I like the movies overall. John DeMarco is here, says curses for no notification. Yes, boy, YouTube. The Resolute says, Anti-Checker is humanity first. Is humanity first confirmed? I am. I will admit it. Mama Prey says, if it comes down to it, and she can only save Anti-Checker or Sassy, we'd miss Anti-Checker very much. Wow. Just, wow. Well, Mama Prey, I will tell you that if it came down to Anti or you, then I would miss Anti very much. I am a humanist, I guess. The 90s animated Superman series had one of the best reinterpretations of Brainiac I've seen. They should have used that instead of Steppenwolf. Well, I think almost anything would have been better than Steppenwolf. That was horrible. Wesley says, take care, my friend. I keep praying for you. Thank you. I need it. Trust me, I do. I watched the campiest Batman movie last night. It's called Batman Ninja. It involves giant robots coming to fight monkeys and bats who are also combined. I don't remember that one. I thought Henry Cavill was good as Superman, and I thought Man of Steel was excellent. I agree. I think Man of Steel was actually really good, and it was nice to finally see Superman unleash his powers on some bad guys. That was actually pretty cool. Darren says, when I watched Batman v Superman, I kept yelling at Batfleck going, why couldn't you have been like this in Daredevil? Yes. And even though not live action, I still think Kevin Conroy was the best Batman. I like Kevin Conroy a lot, but I gotta give it to Affleck. I'm sorry. What's Alexander's thing for a naked MCU Aunt May in 7 of 9? That's a good question. The man is certifiably insane. Roxhod says, you should check out a comedian named Mike Toomey. His Adam West, Joker, and Riddler impressions are spot on. One of these days, maybe I will, but yeah, like, I don't have any time in my life. The Universal Dark Universe was a shaky idea, yet it was audacious. I think now I'd rather try that than Phase 4 of the MCU, which seems to check off diversity boxes and milquetoast. Unfortunately, I think you're right. But we'll find out as Phase 4 unfolds. We'll see. But right now, honestly, I'm not particularly optimistic about the future of the MCU. But on the bright side, I can say, hey, we had 23 great movies, so there's that. Thomas says, bye, Mr. Miles. We will miss you and your love of Stargate Origins. Okay, I must have missed something there. Did Mr. Miles say he's leaving again? If he did, well, okay. In my view, there are superheroes you deconstruct and others you don't. You don't deconstruct Superman, for example. It's okay to deconstruct Watchmen. Well, Watchmen in and of itself is a deconstruction. In fact, if you look at the original purpose, Dr. Manhattan was a deconstruction of Superman. What do you mean? How do you put Superman in a phone world that includes Batman? They did that in the comics for decades, and it worked. Except that they kept having to reboot the universe. I need you to add something to the TNN office later after the stream. Please read Discord. All right, will do. Zach's mom, Pa Kent could have been Elsa's parents. Remember, Clark, conceal, don't feel. I never watched Frozen, so I wouldn't know. That movie just did not appeal to me. Eddie Jagger, please read Down with Turtistan. Tiki, you jerk. Loquacious Primate is in the house. Says, hey, just dropping by to say hi. Good to see you, my friend. Roxhold said, that's a lie about Mama Prey. She wouldn't miss Anti-Tracker. Hey! Thomas says, I would save my cat before myself. Well, Thomas, I know you love your cat, but that's a mistake. John DeMarco says, Condiment King would have probably been better than Steppenwolf. Now, Condiment King is a great villain for, like, the Shazam movie. And Darren says, fix the anti-cam. Oh, I see it's a little crooked there. There you go. Don't forget, people, smash the like button, share via social, set chat to live. Don't forget to turn the mic and camera on before streaming. Donate a can, down to Turtis Ann in the MCU and Aunt May's top. Hey. It's down with Kuroga. Mr. Ross says, I didn't leave. Trying to get rid of me? Not at all. But, yeah. And Trekker, I actually thought Universal had a good start, shared universe with Dracula Untold, but that film didn't make any money. Then they tried The Mummy and bleeped it all up. Yeah. Well, Dracula Untold, I don't know, it was all right. I wasn't my favorite. But I think that the idea of a shared Universal monster universe is fine, but you know what? The problem that these studios have, and this is like, it's the same thing we see at CBS with Star Trek, is they want desperately to reinvent it to show you, this is Dracula as you've never seen him before. Now he's a young hipster. No, I don't want to see Dracula. I don't want to see you screw up classic characters. Pay honor to those classic characters by doing them justice. You don't change their character, you just put them in a new story. But yeah. As Ross says, you're just embarrassed that UHD is actually Blu-ray. Well, UHD and Blu-ray are closely related, but you can't just take a UHD and put it in any old Blu-ray player and have it work. It has to be a Blu-ray player that will play UHD discs. I am sad that Lucasfilm thought that it was a good idea to deconstruct Luke Skywalker. Yeah, that was and that wasn't even that was just insulting. Dr. Manhattan was a deconstruction of Captain Atom. The Watchmen were all deconstructions of the Charles action heroes with DC Comics had just acquired. I know things. I know, Darren. You know things. They also deconstructed the original film with The Force Awakens, and that was also a mistake. Yeah, well, deconstructionism can be a good thing, but it also, here's the thing. To truly do good deconstruction, you need to have respect and reverence for the source material. Here are my two favorite deconstruction films of all time. Galaxy Quest, which I just finished a review on, and Cabin in the Woods, which is a brilliant deconstruction of horror. But unfortunately, people think deconstruction basically means you have to drop your pants and take a dump on it. Well, appreciate you not showing your hobbit feet on the anti-cam. You're more than welcome. I think The Last Jedi has the same basic story beats as The Empire Strikes Back, yet they put its subversions. This little attitude of deconstructing something that was great is what tanked the franchise. Yeah, but here's the thing. The Last Jedi, I think the biggest problem with The Last Jedi was they did not fix the Mary Sue problem with Rey, and then they made every male character incompetent in order to boost female characters. And then, Admiral Holdo, where the hell did that even come from? Why couldn't you use Admiral Akbar? Because he's a male? I mean, what is, when your politics get in front of good logical storytelling, it ruins a film. Well, from what I've heard, there's a deal coming for Spider-Man. We'll see. I'm not, until I hear something from Marvel and or Sony, I'm not gonna speculate. Dracula was in Star Trek? No. Mr. Ross says, yes, but there's a type of Blu-ray. It's still a type of Blu-ray disc. Well, maybe so, but that doesn't mean you can go to Walmart and get a $20 Blu-ray disc player and play a UHD disc. That's my point. All I was trying to make sure, Mr. Miles, is that you do. Make sure you get a player or recorder or whatever you're going to use that says it'll play UHD. If you don't, then you just wasted your money. Peter says, I trust the source. That's fine. But I don't know the source, so I can't trust someone that I don't know. And yeah, and the thing is that, like, I know that there are other channels that have like insiders at CBS and crap like that, but sometimes they're wrong. So I don't know if they're being trolled or if they're or what. So I don't go that route. Darren says, I don't mind a heroic Dracula. I remember the old cartoon Drac Pack. Well, that's shame on you, Darren. No, I don't want a heroic Dracula. I want Dracula to be freaking Dracula. And his source has leaked stuff before. Fair enough, Peter, but like I said, I don't know your source. Cinnabon Bunny, I already read that. Or, no, I didn't read that, but that's the Cinnabon one. Down with Aunt May Top. Mr. Miles says, in all fairness, there's sometimes they do crazy stuff with characters that's really fun. Lincoln the Vampire Hunter for a really stupid but a really fun movie. Yes, but Lincoln the Vampire Hunter was not part of an existing franchise. It would be like if you did, Gandhi Zombie Killer. Everybody knows that's tongue-in-cheek, right? That's fine. What's your favorite cheese, Anti-Trekker? That's a tough one. Colby Jack. I like Colby Jack. Superhero deconstruction is like going to kids' playground and whizzing all over the slides of monkey bars. Did Anti-Trekker just assume Akbar's gender? No, I know Akbar's gender. Mr. Ross says, you said yesterday UHD is not Blu-ray. That's wrong. Come on, you can admit you were wrong. It's okay. You're in a safe space. Okay, so if I said UHD is not Blu-ray, I misspoke. I will say, yes, I was wrong. But what I'm saying is that when I said that, what I mean is just going to the store and buying a Blu-ray player does not mean you're going to be able to play UHD. Like I have a PlayStation 4. It plays Blu-rays, but you put a UHD in it, it's going to say format not readable or whatever. You have to have a UHD formatted Blu-ray player in order for it to work. I'm not holding my breath over Spider-Man either, Trigger, but I'm sure they will sort something. I don't know, because I don't think Sony wants to do anything with the MCU. I think Sony genuinely believes that they can make Spider-Man work. They think third time's the charm, even though all the crap they're talking about their Spider-Verse is the same crap they were talking about when Andrew Garfield was Spider-Man. And we saw how well that worked out. And so, if you want a UHD Blu-ray player, just got an Xbox One S or X, better overall value, even though I personally hate the controller. I'm a PlayStation guy, not an Xbox guy. Though the PlayStation Pro, I believe, same thing. It'll play UHDs, but I'm not buying a new PlayStation just to play UHDs. Hey, Dracula in Star Trek could actually work either as a holodeck threat or a truth behind the legend like Apollo. Oh, I'm not saying it couldn't work. I'm saying it hasn't been yet. Mr. Miles, a VHS player can play UHD. Wow. The Galaxy Quest 4 product knocked my socks off. Now help me find them. Well, Mike, look under the bed. That's probably where they are. Leslie Nielsen is Dracula. I never saw that Dead and Loving It or something. I never saw it. that's when Leslie Nielsen was like really just becoming a straight up whore. I am the biggest Star Wars fan. I remember when the Force Awakens teaser dropped on Black Friday 13 months before the film. I had no internet, so I drove to a hotel parking lot to watch. Now I don't care. Yeah, this is sad. And you're not alone, Mercer. And that's why Star Wars is having diminishing returns problems right now. Peter says, I love a Danish blue anti-tricker. No idea what that means. BIRDOPREY says, my source was right for the Picard's dog is #1 and that Orville was canceled from Fox, 2 for 2. Yeah, first of all, Bird, that's not what you said about the Orville. I know you're trying to spin it, but yeah, you have fun with that. Let's see. Oh, I'll have to try Colby Jack. Yeah, Colby Jack is good. It's a mix of obviously Colby and Jack. So there we go. And Thomas Lacar just subscribed to the channel. If you're here, Thomas, thank you, my friend. If you're not here, well, thanks out there in the ether. And let's see. One that's missed me. Oh, the Colby Jack? Yeah, you should try it. It's good. Never forget, Dracula is public domain now. As long as your version doesn't look like someone else's, you're good. Yeah, and that's the thing. You can obviously anybody can do Dracula, and they but Universal has done so many because the classic Bela Lugosi was Universal. Universal's done a lot of monster movies. I like the idea, but the problem is they're trying to change all the characters. I'm sorry, but the mummy that we see in the Tom Cruise movie and the Brandon Fraser films is not the frickin' mummy. I should care about Star Wars without the fervor. The film might earn less than $1 billion. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much Episode 9 makes. If it does make less than $1 billion, Star Wars is dead. Thomas says, in the original Civ games, if certain things happen, Gandhi would show up and nuke everyone. That would be hilarious. BIRDOPREY says, Korogan cheese is the best cheese. It's like a mix of American and mozzarella. That sounds like Korogan cheese right there. American cheese and mozzarella mix. American cheese isn't even freaking cheese. It's disgusting. Cinnabon's favorite cheese is the BIRDOPREY 5 stream. And Mr. Boss's intro are also not true. You don't need a UHD formatted Blu-ray player for it to work. There are old Blu-ray players that are called 4K friendly, but they're not designed with 4K. But you're missing the point. The 4K friendly ones are ones that were designed with 4K in mind. The most Blu-ray players are not designed to play 4K discs. Because I don't know all the technical specs behind them because I'm not an engineer for Sony or anybody else. But it's not necessarily because while it uses the same type of laser, a Blu-ray, that's where that term came from, is because the laser is actually blue, and it probably uses the same laser and it can read it, but the processor in a standard Blu-ray player can't go beyond 1080p, and so it doesn't have any way to process that disc because it's just more information than it can handle. Roxas says, actually, the PS4 Pro does not play UHD. I did not know that. As dumb as it is since Sony invented the format. Yeah, that is kind of silly. Sony owns Blu-ray, which is also why the Xbox took forever to adapt Blu-ray, and they were trying to do HD DVD for a while because Microsoft didn't want to pay Sony to use Blu-ray. Enter, my favorite cinematic Dracula was Duncan Rear from Monster Squad. He was also the alien ghost who had sex with Beverly Crusher. Well, my favorite Dracula is, I don't know. There's been a few. I know it sounds horrible, but I actually really liked, now I can't remember his name, the Scottish guy from the 300. But anyway, he was Dracula in Dracula 2000, and I kind of like that. Mr. Brown says, yes, but not all Blu-ray players will work. These old Blu-ray drives I spoke of came out before UHD, but I bet can play UHD if you update the firmware. It disables the 4K ability. Well, you go ahead and try that, my friend. But I'm just saying, if you want to try and get an old Blu-ray player and hack it and make it so that it can play 4K, you go right ahead. Or you just buy a device that was designed for it. It's up to you. I don't have the ability to do what you're talking, to get in and tinker with the firmware and stuff. That's not my area of expertise. I really love what's her name who played the mummy in the Trues film, and Jayla in Star Trek Beyond. Just a fun actress. Well, not knocking the actress. I'm just saying, but that's not the frickin' mummy. First of all, the mummy's supposed to be Emotep. Second of all, the mummy doesn't do the crap that they do in these modern films that they're just excuses to use visual effects. They change so much just to copyright quality be damned. Yeah, and it's stupid. Yeah. Peter says, American plastic cheese, anti-checker. It's not natural. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I think Universal could knock it out of the park if they would just embrace the most iconic versions of Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein, Mummy. They need gravitas. You are 100% correct, but they don't want to, and that's the stupid thing. Universal made these characters household names, and now they can't make those same characters. It's the same problem that CBS has with Star Trek, that Warner Brothers has with DC. They don't understand their own intellectual property. It is so freaking stupid. Tiki says, American cheese is best cheese for cheeseburgers, you commie. Actually, no, for cheeseburgers, Colby Jack is awesome. Another great way to make a cheeseburger is to layer cheddar and mozzarella cheese on a cheeseburger. That's really good. Peter likes Cheese Whiz. Mike Richards likes provolone. Mrs. Anti-Trekker loves provolone. That's her favorite cheese. Hector says, is there any cheese in orange American cheese? No. Basically what happens is there's a world of cheese, right, where cheese is actually people. Like there's this dude named Cheddar, another dude named Mozzarella and stuff. And what happens is when, they take a crap and they flush it down their toilet, what ends up in the cheese sewers becomes American cheese, and then the stuff that is still left over after that becomes Cheese Whiz. Mr. Ross says, I'm talking about PC drives, not Blu-ray players for TV. You can put data on these discs and read them via PC. Well, again, I'm not an expert on that, so if you get it to work, Mr. Miles, awesome. That's all I care about. I just want to make sure that you get, before you spend any money, that you make sure that it's something that will work for you. What the hell is with anyone still doing disk drives anyway? I don't know. My computer does not have one. Mr. Miles says, hey, Trey, I sent you an article about this. Obviously, you didn't read it. No, I've been... the last 48 hours or so have been a little intense, and I apologize for that. Besides getting that video done, I also had to deal with some stuff with the insurance people that I'm not happy about. But, yeah, I'm not going to get into that again. Cinnabon says, next year they'll have to buy everything again in 8K. Except that I think that now you're getting, 8K is great if you have a 75-foot screen. What they said was that the best thing about the recent Mummy film was Russell Crowe's Jekyll Hyde. Russell Crowe's Jekyll Hyde was okay, but quite frankly, that movie was utterly forgettable to me. Favorite type of coffee? I'm partial to the McDonald's blend for some reason. I don't really, I like just a good old Starbucks mocha. That's my favorite. And let's see. Mr. Miles says, Andrew, what do you think? Why do you think a PC Blu-ray drive is limited to 1080p? They put video games on Blu-ray. They put data on it. It's not limited to 1080p video. Well, I understand, but here's the thing. It depends on, like, if you put data on a drive, that's different than formatting it for the, whatever I can't remember the name of the format that they use for Blu-ray, the 2.64, whatever. But if that format is a very specific format and it reads the disc specifically for playback as opposed to reading it for data that you're loading into your processor, into your memory for, various stuff. So yes, you could save you could take a standard DVD, like a DVD-R, put it in your drive and save a video clip that's in 8K. That doesn't mean that you can take a 4K disc and put it in your DVR and read it. A matured cheddar for burgers is the best. Yes, a nice sharp cheddar on burgers is awesome. The last time Star Trek was profound was when Sisko was saying to himself, no, it's not linear, when he realized he never got over the past and his wife's emissary in Life Test. Emissary is a fantastic episode. I think Emissary was a fantastic episode. But yeah, Star Trek, unfortunately, it's at least after the run of Enterprise, has gone severely downhill. Mercer says, it was really risky, too, having Cisco talk to a non-linear, non-corporeal aliens explaining what time was a novel idea while Kira tries to bluff her enemies. I think that the wormhole alien concept was interesting. The problem is that, and this is the problem with any kind of show like this, is that they should have, and I know it's almost impossible unless, man, you are freaking, incredibly good writer. You should have dropped hints in the first episode, an emissary, that would relate directly to the last episode. Like the fact that Cisco is one of them. They should have dropped a hint about that in Emissary so that it kind of felt like it went full circle. Kind of like that if you watch certain episodes of Futurama, you will see, for example, when Fry falls into the freezer, you can see for a very brief time Nibbler's shadow before Nibbler was ever introduced as a character. And so that way later on when they introduce Nibbler and they see that Nibbler actually pushed Fry into the freezer, they can go back and see that and go, holy crap, they had it planned all along. So yeah. The most disturbing Dracula for me was Max Schreck in the silent German expressionist film Nosferatu. That Dracula Orlok would not want to meet. Yes, a lot of people believe that Max Schreck actually was a vampire because of his performance in Nosferatu. That film is truly eerie. I knew Miss Satrick had good taste. Well, in most things, not in men apparently, but in everything else she certainly does. What about Orange Julius nacho cheese? Yeah, you can have it. I don't like nacho cheese. Mercer says humans cannot see 8K. Well, humans don't see in any K because we are not digital. We see in an analog format. But the thing is that and so it's kind of hard to compare to that. Some people can see the difference between 4K and 8K. Most people cannot. Why do we still have disk drives? Because physical is better than digital only. When those digital stores go down, you have nothing where to go through this in the video game world. Oh, you're absolutely right. In fact, there was a streaming service called Ultraviolet, which was in the name for people to buy their films online, there are really three main players. There was Ultraviolet, Vudu, and Amazon Prime. And I usually go with Vudu. Number one, if you buy a physical disc at like Walmart, it'll usually include a code where you can put it on your Vudu account, which is the other thing though is that if you buy it on Vudu, you have the option of having them send you a physical copy, which I do on a fairly regular basis. So as a perfect example, the other day, like about a week or two ago, Mrs. Antrecker and I watched From Dusk Till Dawn. We got it on Vudu, and here's the physical copy that came in the mail. And so I like that. Now, Ultraviolet recently went out of business, which means if you have 1,000 movies that you paid for on Ultraviolet, guess what? That account's gone. Darren says, hey, Trigger, I won't get a 4K TV because I can't see a 4K. Most Hollywood films don't benefit from it. I will say this. I have a 4K projector, and you can see the difference, at least I can, on a large screen. H.264, thank you, Roxall. That was like right there. I could see it in my head, but I couldn't quite articulate it. But yes. At the start of the digital cinema and movies were projected in theaters at 1080p and nobody complained. 8K is stupid overkill. Well, like I said, they're going to keep trying to make it better until it gets to a point where it's indistinguishable from reality, which would be really mind-blowing. Let's see. I have a disk drive because editing. Yes, that's the only reason. And actually, that's one of the reasons, Mr. Miles, that I buy my movies on Vudu is because what I do, and I'll show you right now, because you were talking about, I know that your 4K copy of Endgame, you were talking about trying to use that to, for your editing. Sorry, I'm suck at trying to do two things at once. Bear with me. All right, so here is, if I switch to game screen, so here is Vudu's main website, right? Oh, I see X-Men Dark Phoenix is out, right? So if I were, I'm not going to buy it right now, but you go in there and you can select whether you want to own it on 4K, 1080p, or standard definition. By the way, if they are all the same price, don't be stupid. Buy the UHD, because it is backwards compatible. If you're on a screen that is not UHD compatible, you can still watch it if you buy it in UHD. It's stupid to buy the standard definition for the same price and then not and then be kind of just screwed. Anyway, but if we go to Avengers Endgame, now obviously I already own this one, and notice it says you own in UHD. So we go to resume. Alright, so here's where it was the last time I was watching it. Now, here's what I do when I'm doing my movie reviews and stuff. So we go to full screen on the player. We start let's see, then over on XSplit, which is the software that I use for streaming. This is XSplit right here. So in XSplit, I can simply select record, local recording, and then once it says recording, then I hit the old play button. We watch a couple of seconds of Endgame as Thanos is realizing his utter defeat. Whoops, and then I screwed that up. All right, and so let me bring XSplit back up because I was stupid, and so then we stop the recording. All right, so now that I did all that stupidity, I actually have in my directory where my XSplit videos go. And let me go back to the game screen. All right, so here's my XSplit directory. I go right here, local recording, and then once it says recording, and there's me talking about making a recording. We watch a couple of seconds of Endgame, and so then I can edit the video and do all sorts of cool stuff, and that's kind of what I do. If that makes any sense to anybody. So there we go. I'm fine with everything going to 8. Yeah, I would love to have 8K actually, because that does make it easier for editing purposes, because you can zoom in on something. Because you think about it, if you have 4K, you can zoom in to 1/4 of the screen and have it at the same 1080p resolution, so that you can do like crops and clips and stuff that are far superior than trying to do it on 1080p. So yes. Thomas says, what around the 3K? Well, because of the way that if you look at the way that it works is from standard definition or 480p, is, you know, the old school television. You double the number of resolution lines one way and you double it the other way. Now it's 4 times the resolution, even though really you only doubled it. And so 4 times resolution, 4K. You double it again, and now you have 8K. And so I'm sure that after 8K, they'll probably come out with a 16K. McDonald's coffee is Seattle's best, which is actually Starbucks coffee. Actually, well, Seattle's best and Starbucks are both from Seattle. Antracker, cheddar should be as sharp as a lightsaber. Agreed. Darren says, I still want to know what happened to the Dominion invasion force that disappeared in the wormhole thanks to the prophets. They are dead. That's my opinion. I love getting a 20-piece chicken McNugget. 8K will be noticeable to people like us when we're zooming in on parts of the video, but for most people, yeah, they won't be able to tell. Agreed. But it'll be good for editing, and that's what you just said. Who is the best female Dracula and hottest? Well, there is no female Dracula. Dracula is a male character. So, yeah, I reject the premise of the question. As far as female vampire, that's easy. Salma Hayek from Dusk Till Dawn. Voodoo took in the ultraviolet customers. Their movies were moved to Voodoo. Yeah, I know that, but you know what? If Voodoo hadn't done that, guess what? Ultraviolet customers would be completely screwed. But I still believe in owning the physical media. I buy most movies on iTunes. Most simultaneously go to Voodoo's and Movies Anywhere. Yeah, there are some services that will share, and that's a good thing. And but I don't particularly care for iTunes because I have a personal grudge against Apple. but Voodoo with a physical copy is the way that I like to do things. Voodoo doesn't offer UHD, but some version of their own XHD or something. I forget. I just showed you I have Endgame in UHD on Voodoo. So I don't know what you're talking about because I have Endgame in UHD. One of the things I find fascinating when it comes to preparation in DS9 was Bashir's arc. They hinted at him being special way back in the first season when, but the thing is that they also did not hint at him being that special. Like if you look at him in the first couple of episodes, he was always portrayed as being very intelligent, but not necessarily a mastermind like they made him later. Miles says, I hate Apple, but I will give them this. iTunes automatically upgrades your movies to 4K as soon as they come out. No need to rebuy them. That's a good thing. I'll give you that. So I didn't know that. Filmmaker mode is supported for TV models aimed at giving viewers a constant cinematic representation of images as the filmmakers intended in terms of color, contrast, speed, and frame rates. Okay. Wesley says, I missed a lot of the stream. I was busy. Oh, well. Sorry about that. And Thomas says, spoiler alert. Oh, shut up. Endgame came out long enough ago. If you don't know by now, then you don't want to see it. I hate smooth motion. I'm not a big fan of smooth motion either. I prefer 24 frames per second. However, it's kind of funny that improving the frame rate actually makes some people go, ugh, I don't like that. Cool, a tutorial, says Wesley. Well, kind of. And Luke has just joined us, says, bonjour, fellow nerds and nerdettes. Hey, Luke, how you doing? And let me see, what did you just do? Wesley, Mr. Miles. Yeah, HDX is 1080p. When you were looking at that, that's 1080p. But it'll say HDX or UHD. It says SD, HDX, or UHD. Anyway, 35 millimeter has, and so like the what I was looking at right now was in 1080p because this it's on a 1080p monitor. And let's see, 35 millimeter film has always had digital resolution equivalent to 4K. Yeah, but I actually like digital shooting better than film. I know some people consider that sacrilege, but I think digital looks better. And let's see here. I love getting 40 of Wendy's spicy chicken nuggets. Wow, that's a lot of spicy chicken nuggets. Luke says, Enter, you mean Matilda Day? I have no idea what you're talking about. Breaking up, I woke up in cryopod again. Breaking, I woke up in a oh, okay. Well, so it worked. That's good. The best female vampire was Lily Munster. Selma Hayek was a close second, though. I'm sorry, Selma Hayek is definitely number one. Darth Maul says, Selma Hayek, OMG, yes. Google Play Stores also updates previous purchases to 4K as well. Well, there you go. I did not know that. I realized Bashir's augment status came much later, but it still worked in the context of the first two seasons when he had no experience and was revealed to be holding back. Yeah, I'm okay with it, but I think it would have been better had they dropped hints of some of that stuff in the first episode in particular. Scientific Lens says, all film is 24 frames per second except for the Hobbit trilogy, which is 48. Yes, and a lot of people didn't like the 48 frames per second of the Hobbit films, which is too bad because I actually did. I thought that the 48 frames per second combined with 3D was freaking amazing. Unfortunately, though, nobody seemed to care about it, and so it didn't go anywhere. But I actually really liked it. And let's see. Did you ever see the Voyager episode that had the cast of Frasier? I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mercer. You're wrong about Selma Hayek. Vampirella is better. Well, agree to disagree, my friend. Well, gotta go some work to have a night. Got to go some work to do nice stream anti-trigger. Thank you, German Checker, I think. I get it. Not everyone is a fan of film grain. Yeah, and the thing is that I understand why some people love film grain, just like some people like vinyl LPs as opposed to digital media for their music. The vinyl is technically inferior, but people like that little bit of staticky sound, that analog imperfections that make it feel more real to them. Same is true with film. If you film it on 35 millimeter film, there's the grain, there's noise, and the problem is that you can't do digital effects very well. That's why digital effects look so much better once filmmakers started going to digital film. Because with analog film, one of the things that people don't realize about 35 millimeter film when you're running it in a film camera is that the film, every frame is an individual photo being taken by the camera, right? It's taking 24 photographs per second. And because of the mechanical device that it's using to advance the film and everything, the camera has a certain amount of wobble to it. It shakes just a little bit. And that's why if you ever, and I used to do this all the time even when I was a kid, this is just the kind of nerd that I am, is that if you ever go to a film that was shot on film and you're in a theater, put your eyes in one corner of the screen for a minute, and you will notice that, like, if the camera's locked down and we're looking at a steady shot of something, everything is jiggling just a little bit because of the fact that the camera itself is moving just a little bit as the film is advancing and all those mechanical parts are moving. That, and the film doesn't always seat in the exact same position, and sometimes there's a little bit off. So when you play it back, it's a slight amount of wobble. That slight amount of wobble is virtually imperceptible to a casual viewer. However, what happens when you then try to put a digital effect on top of that? Well, the digital effect is going to be perfectly still, and so it makes it stand out. But since you can't see the wobble, all you can say is something doesn't look right. And people say, oh, CG looks so fake. Well, CG looks more fake if you put it on a filmed image than if you put it on a digital image. And that's just the way it works. So, yeah. And Peter says, really interesting Tim in politics here in the UK. Okay. Mr. Ross, there's a comedy skit where part of the Voyager cast got together with part of the Frasier cast. It's just a short skit. Frasier played a Klingon, and he was oddly good at it. Oh, okay. I never saw that. Viewers of the old Doctor Who shows knows the difference between 24 and 48 frames per second. Every time the Doctor was outside 24, inside 48. Well, and that's actually, if you shoot on videos, because 48 frames per second actually is what Peter Jackson did for The Hobbit, but video is typically shot at 30 frames per second. And so, and that's like the old videotape and everything. And that's why you could see like an effect that looks very much like what we call smooth motion nowadays in video shows that were filmed on video. For example, you can spot, if you look at old Twilight Zone episodes, the ones that were shot on film versus the ones that were shot on video. The video ones, the lighting is more harsh because video cameras aren't as good at nuanced lighting as film cameras. So the lighting always looked a little bit off on video. Plus, the motion was smoother on video than it is on film, and it's because it was being shot at 30 frames per second instead of 24. And the funny thing is, the reason for the 24 frames per second is money. What they did was when the 24 frames per second became kind of the standard in the film industry, it was because they were trying to see how slow can they run the film and have no loss of quality. And when they dropped it below 24 frames per second, people started to complain about the jittery motion. And so 24 frames per second, it's the slowest they could run it that people could enjoy it at. And that's what they did, because that uses less film than if they were filming at 48 frames per second, obviously uses twice as much film. And in the case of the Hobbit trilogy, it was actually using 4 times as much film because they were filming at 48 frames per second on dual cameras. And that's...
Captain's log.
There's that sketch. Thank you. I will check that out, Mercer. I appreciate it. Darren says, I still prefer writing on a manual typewriter versus my computer. I do not, because I need spell check. I think the best Voyager episode there was. Well, I will definitely check it out, Mercer. I absolutely will. I'm just going to read the ones that are addressed to me and then wrap this up because I got a lot to do today. Got to get my next video working on, and I got to get something for Mr. Miles to work on editing, and I need to do other stuff as well. I like the Frasier thing. I will definitely check it out. Darren says, yeah, shows filmed on videotape look like soap operas. Well, that's because soap operas were shot on video. Twilight Zone episodes like Night of the Meek or on videotape and have that look. Yes. And so with that, guys, I am going to wrap it up here, but thank you all for hanging out with me. I do appreciate it, even though the stream got off to a shaky start. I love hanging out with you guys, and I will see you all mañana. And for those of you that don't know, that's Spanish for tomorrow.